friends. Welcome to Sky House Herbs podcast. I'm Ashley Elenbaas, a clinical herbalist, and in this space, I share my knowledge and experience with plant medicine to help you on your own journey of healing and transformation. Join me in exploring the ancient wisdom of plant spirit medicine and how it can be used to heal the body, mind, and spirit. We'll talk to experts in the field and share stories from people who've been transformed by powerful plant allies. New episodes are released each Monday, so please subscribe. And now, let's explore this mystical world of plant medicine together. All right, this is what I do to myself. I was like, I'm going to go to the garden. I'm just going to go pick some bee balm and talk about it. And then this happens. All right, I need to go put some of these away because I've got some dinner stuff in here. I will be right back. Okay, hi everyone. Welcome in. My name is Ashley Elenbaas and I am a clinical herbalist. I am excited to talk with you about two herbs that make wonderful medicines. This is Bee Balm. Both of them are Bee Balm, but this one is Monarda fistulosa. And this one is Monarda didyma. Both are wonderful medicines and they are different. Then I will show you step by step how to make this beautiful edible wild honey at home. First, let's talk about these two plants, who they are, what family they belong to, and some of their medicinal values. Wearing the bright red, we have Monarda didyma, and both of these are Monardas, but they are different. They are related. They are both in the mint family. We have Monarda didyma with a square stem, and do you see how its leaves are opposite? That's very common to plants in the mint family. And look, its cousin, Monarda fistulosa, has similar opposite leaves. And see how they twist up the stem? So you kind of have, you can see it really well in this one, how they are opposite. So they're right apart from each other on the stem, but then as they go up, they rotate in how they're angled. So that's a very common feature we see in mint family plants. Another attribute of mint family plants are these tubular flowers with these stamen that stick out through the middle, almost like a tongue. Do you see that? And these are all different flowers. So we can see that there is a flower head, but coming out of the flower head are many smaller individual flowers. The same is true for Monarda fistulosa. This one has smaller flowers, but you can see those little pockets where the flowers once were, and these flowers fell out as the plant ages. Both Monarda didyma and Monarda fistulosa are wonderful mucolytic herbs, which means that they thin mucus. This is really good if you have a cold, a cough, congestion, if you have a chronic pulmonary cough where you're like constantly clearing your throat. Both of these herbs contain thymol, which is an essential oil or volatile oil, which breaks down and thins mucus. This volatile oil is also antiseptic, making it a wonderful herb for infections and wound care. One thing that's different about these two is that the Monarda didyma has higher concentrations of thymol, that essential oil. So it's a little bit more of a potent, I would call it more spicy flavored medicine. Whereas the Monarda fistulosa, the purple, has a lower concentration of thymol. It is a little bit more of a softer scent and flavored medicine. However, both of them can be used quite interchangeably. Another thing that they both do is they both help with digestion. These herbs contain volatile oils like thymol and others that aid in the breakdown of food, that increase and improve digestive capacity. They are both antimicrobial, and this can be helpful with gut dysbiosis. So if you are struggling, maybe you've taken antibiotics recently, or you have issues with your digestion and with elimination due to imbalance in your gut microbiome, consider these plants as part of a regimen using food and using other soluble fibers to help build up your good bacteria in your gut. Both herbs also act as a nervine, which means that they help to relax the central nervous system. So they can be useful for anxiety, for stress, and for insomnia. However, when I put them side by side and when I've tested them myself, I think this one comes out better for the nervous system. This one has a signature in its color, the purple, for being a nervine. And a lot of mint family plants that are purple seem to be calming, soothing, and really good for helping sleep. We can think about lavender and catnip as just a few examples. I love this herb as a sleepy nighttime tea mixed with a little chamomile to aid with sleep and restful dreams. Another signature that makes this plant a really good one for the nervous system is that the little flowers, the way they stick out, look like nerve axions. So if you look at the anatomy of a nerve, you can see that it has like the nerve sheath of the body, and then it has this head with all these little fraggly things sticking out. And that looks a lot like these heads of the Monarda fistulosa. And I was teaching at the Midwest Women's Herb Conference one year, and a woman came to me after she had sampled it in one of my workshops and said that she had had a surgery on her stomach and they severed a nerve, and she hadn't been able to feel that patch of her stomach for over 10 years. And after taking a few drops of Monarda fistulosa, she could feel the feeling coming back to that dead part of her stomach. Another student came up and shared with me that her foot, which had suffered from neuropathy and nerve damage, she could start to feel some tingling in her toes where otherwise she had no feeling for several years. These are just a few stories that I've heard over the years of people having incredible healing experiences with nerve damage, nerve strain, and also nervous exhaustion using this herb. So if you have any of those, I would strongly recommend taking this herb as a nervine in tincture form, as a tea, or also as a honey, and I'll show you how to make that. You can also use both of these herbs in your cooking, and anytime you might have a recipe that calls for oregano, think about your bee balms as native oreganos. That means you can take the leaves, dry them, crush them up, and use them in your salad dressings to season your poultry, to season fish, to add to pasta. Really, there's no limit to how you can use this to season and flavor food, and that really goes for both species. Looking at these herbs side by side, you can see this one has a larger head. These have smaller flower heads. There is something specific about the smell. When I smell the Monarda didyma, the red one, it is a much spicier scent. And when I smell the Monarda fistulosa, it's more fragrant, it's more flowery, it's more delicate and light. When using these medicines, consider that. I always considered the didyma to be a more potent, stronger, more spicy type of medicine. If you really want to get things moving, consider using the red didyma. Whereas if you're looking to maybe cool or soothe or heal something that's a little bit more deep in the system, consider using the more gentle plant or Monarda fistulosa. There's another difference too that shows its use as an antifungal. You can see on the Monarda fistulosa these little white spots. They look like mildew or like a fungal growth, and they are. This is an actual type of leaf mildew or fungus that grows on the plant. What's interesting is that this fungus does not hurt the plant if it is strong. The plant is healthy, it has good soil, it has good sun and water. This will grow symbiotically on the plant without damaging the herb. However, if the plant is weak, this leaf mold will start to damage the leaves, cause rotting, and then damage the whole plant. You can use the leaves that have this mold on it to create medicine. And this is considered to be a signature for its use as an antifungal, as an herb for candida, for any sort of fungal overgrowth in the body or mold allergies even. This plant is very healthy and very strong. And even though it has these spots on the leaves, I'm going to use it in today's medicine making. If you're using Monarda fistulosa when treating a yeast infection or any sort of fungal overgrowth, you can do a few things. If it's on your foot or on your skin, you can make a tea and then use a cloth and apply it as an herbal compress over that affected area. You can also, for women, do a vaginal steam. So you would ideally have a vaginal steam bath where you would put the leaves into hot water and then sit over a tub and let that steam move all the way up into your body and help to balance and maybe kill off the yeast, but also to help bring extra blood flow and healing to those. You can also drink it as a tea. That is also a great way of getting this herb into your body and getting it to all of the tissues internally. What else? The things that I've noticed about these herbs, I've never seen the Monarda didyma grow wild here in Minnesota where I live. However, the Monarda fistulosa grows wild all through the prairies, in the open fields and meadows. And what I've noticed about these two, because this one I grow in my garden and this one grows on my land and is spreading very, very happily, is that this one grows very straight and upright. And it grows in a very close clump and it doesn't spread, or at least it hasn't spread in the 3 years I've had it. Whereas the Monarda fistulosa, which is the more common species here in the Midwest, it grows in these clusters, but then it will jump and create space and create another cluster. So it's almost like all over my property, it's creating these little communities, these little hubs of Monarda. And what I love about that is that when the bees come through, the bees will come into one cluster and hang out there, and then they'll hop to the other. The other thing that's really cool about it is that they don't all bloom at the same time. So I have 3 clusters right now that are in full bloom, and then I have 5 clusters that are in different stages of starting to bloom. And what that does is it gives the bees a longer amount of time from which they can harvest the pollen. And I think it's planned. I don't think it's an accident. They're in the same sun. They have the same amount of water. The soil is the same, but there's something about the way they time themselves out. And I think that that's a really good teaching for us as well. So I think about this medicine, Monarda fistulosa, as like teaching us about concentrated communities of good communication within communities to help us make good choices. And then also blooming at the right time. Not everyone blooms, at 21. Not everyone comes into their fullness at 30 or 31 or 41, right? 51, 71. Everyone has a different timing, but if you surround yourself with like-minded people and you are patient and you know that your time will come, and maybe you'll have several blooming cycles in a lifetime. I mean, I hope we all do. But there's something about this herb that I feel like helps us with patience. It helps us say, you know what, I am where I need to be. I'm surrounded by the people I need to be around, and I'm going to bloom at just the right time. That I am going to wait until it is my opportunity to open, to shine, and to share my gifts. And this herb is so generous in sharing all of these flowers with the bees and with butterflies and all of the pollinators that come through. One story that I have about using Monarda fistulosa was when I had a really hot, inflamed, itchy patch on my foot. And it was so itchy and inflamed, I didn't know what to do. And I knew that Monarda fistulosa, the purple one, was really good for drying out heat. And so I woke up in the middle of the night. I think it was maybe 2 a.m. And I walked out into my garden and the Monarda was like, I can help. I can help. So I went out and I picked some of the flowers and I picked some of the leaves and I chewed them up and made a spit poultice and I stuck it on my foot. And then I went inside, put a Band-Aid over it, and I went to sleep. I could feel the Monarda drawing the heat out of that really irritated, red, inflamed patch. And by the morning, that patch was pretty much gone. The heat had cleared, the itching was gone, and it was incredible how it drew heat out. You can also use this for burns like you would lavender or lavender essential oils. If you get a burn in the kitchen from cooking oil, or I don't know if I'd use it for sunburn. I feel like there's other herbs for that. But if you get an oil burn or a lighter, you get some sort of fire burn, this herb is really good at drawing out the heat from the skin and keeping it from blistering. A few other ways to use Monarda fistulosa is for tinnitus or ringing of the ears. You'll make a strong tea using the leaves and using the flowers and drink about a cup of tea maybe 2 to 3 times a day. And that can be sometimes due to a buildup of oils in the ear or damage to the ear. And this will help increase circulation and break down excess oils. Here in the Midwest, we also get really cold winters, so this can be a great remedy for hypothermia and frostbite. After coming in from being outside in the cold, make a tea with this herb and drink it, and it will feel from the inside of the core of your body really warming up, and it'll move the heat out to the periphery to warm your toes and to warm your fingertips. One other interesting thing is the difference in the names of the two. Sometimes this herb, Monarda fistulosa, is called wild bergamot, and this one, the Monarda didyma, is often referred to as Oswego tea. So if you ever see an old reference to Oswego tea, they're referring to Monarda didyma. And this one, Monarda fistulosa, has wild bergamot, wild oregano, and sometimes also sweet leaf. The last way we can use this herb before we get to the honey is to do a steam with it for clearing anger or tension from a household. Let's just say something really big happened in your home, maybe a big fight, your kids just had a big tantrum, and you want to kind of smudge or clear the air. You can take some either fresh or dried Monarda fistulosa typically, but you could use the didyma if you needed to. Take like a big pot of water, boil the water, add the herbs to it, let it steam and fill the whole house. And that is said to reset the air and reset the emotional charge in the house so that the house feels more calm and more settled. And you know what? You can also just make a beautiful bouquet, right? Like, why not just stick these into a little vase and you can have these on your counter. Ah, smells so good. Now let's turn to medicine making. To make a Bee Balm infused honey, you only need a few things. You need a clean glass jar. You need ideally some local organic raw honey, and you need some fresh bergamot or Oswego tea. One thing that's important is when you buy ball jars from the store, make sure you wash them well before you make a medicine in them. The reason for that is the inside is often coated with, I don't even know, something that smells stinky, that smells toxic. I always wash out the inside with some gentle soap and then rinse it really well and dry before making my medicine. We'll start with Monarda didyma, the red variety. To make your medicine, take the flower head off. I'm just going to pinch it like this. I'm going to crush the flower head and I'm mashing it with my fingers. It's getting a little bit wet. That's good. This is going to release the oils and then I'll put that in the jar. Take off the leaves and do the same thing. I'm also going to check the leaves, just make sure there's no bugs or anything on them. Like here's some cottonwood fuzz from the cottonwood trees, which were in bloom recently. So those leaves look pretty good. I'm not going to wash them because number one, they're not dirty. They're from my garden. I know where they're from. And also if I add water, if I wash them and then I make a honey with it, that water is going to go into the honey and it's going to make it more likely to spoil. I don't want that. I'm using my nail here. Can you hear that? Microphone. So I'm using my nail to puncture the leaf. Do you see that? How I'm making like little indentations? And then I'm bunching it, and then I'm kind of ripping it with my nail. This is a very old, ancient, traditional way of bruising or macerating herbs so that you can get the oils and the medicines out of them. Another flower, mashing it, giving it a little bit of a rip. My mom's in town, and we were making some herbal honey together. And she said when her grandmother, who is from Sicily, would make salads, she never used a knife to cut the herbs or to cut the lettuce. She said that it's better to use your fingers and to rip the leaves. And the reasoning is, well, it was just traditional knowledge in Sicily that you get more of the scent and more of the flavor out if you rip it by hand. But actually, science has shown that when we cut with a knife, especially if it's not super sharp, when the knife cuts down, it actually seals the cell walls off. So rather than opening the cell walls of the leaf, you're actually kind of pinching them closed, which makes them less accessible for whatever you're using to extract to get in there. Isn't that cool? So there's wisdom in these old traditional ways of preparing medicine and preparing herbs. Look at this beautiful red imprint on the Monarda didyma leaves. Do you see that beautiful red color? That's part of its signature for heat and fire, and especially like by the base, by where the stomach would be. So cool. I'm going to keep doing that with all of my flowers. I've got the stems here. I'm not going to use the stems in the honey because they are a little bit more tough. They're not easy to rip, and it's not essential. You can get better medicine from the leaves and the flowers. Fill your jar about 3/4 full. So you can see this little line here. I'm going to push it down so you can see, but my jar is mostly full, 3/4 of the way full with plant material. Next, you're going to take honey. This is raw, organic, unfiltered honey. You can use any honey. Local would be ideal. And I'm going to add honey to my jar. I filled the jar with honey, and then a few options. You can either use that stem to kind of mix and push the plant material around so that you can get all of the air bubbles out and mix the honey into the plant material on the bottom. You can also use a chopstick. Chopsticks work really, really well, and they're a little bit harder and don't bend quite as easily. Keep applying honey until everything is covered. See those air bubbles popping? That's good. I want to get all the air out. Push the herbs all the way down so that the herbal material is under the honey or in the honey. You really don't want any pieces of the plant like this little guy. You don't want them on the outside, because if you have herbs on the outside, it will spoil. It can spoil the batch. Then put your cap on and screw it on tight. Make a label because you want to know what's in there. Include the name, the date that you made it, and where you harvested your herbs from and what it is in. Apply your label to the lid. I have today's date, so in 2 weeks from now it will be ready, but I might not be able to wait, and I can eat it as soon as tonight. You might be wondering, when does this go bad? Or like, what happens? Because there is fresh plant material in here. Will it spoil? And the answer is it can spoil, but honey is such a wonderful preservative. It is antibacterial, antimicrobial just in itself, that will help kill off anything that might be growing in there. So that's number one. Also, Monarda, both species are very strongly antiseptic and antimicrobial. Those oils are also going to kill off anything that could grow in there. However, because we have water in the plant material because it's fresh, there is the possibility it could spoil. To slow down spoiling, you can store this in the refrigerator, but if you know you're going to eat it pretty quickly, you can store it on your counter. And I've had mine last really up to a year before I noticed anything going off. What happens when it goes off? Well, you'll notice that you might see some mold growing in the cap or along the sides. You might notice an odor that does not smell right. It does not smell like Monarda, and it does not smell like honey. Let's do the same thing with our Monarda fistulosa. Clean jar, fresh plant. Model the heads, break them up, use your nails and use your fingers. One trick for stripping off the leaves is to go from the head or the top of the plant and use your nails and slide them down to pull the leaves off the stem. And do this again and again and again. I wish you could smell this. It smells so good. And just because it's so pretty, I'm going to leave one flower out and then add it to the top at the end. Mixing it up, getting all of the herbs covered in honey. I have filled it 3/4 to the top. I'm going to push down and try to get rid of any air bubbles. And just because it's pretty, I'm going to add this beautiful Monarda flower. I can't get over how pretty that is. I'm just going to stick it down there. There you go, buddy. I can't wait to see you again and put you in my belly. Now it is filled almost to the top and all of the plant material is submerged. I will cap it and label it. There is my label. You might be wondering, how do I use these honeys, Ashley? They're beautiful and they probably taste great, but what do I do with them? Well, you can strain them. So after 2 weeks, you could pull out all of the plant material, maybe use a strainer, and that's one way. And then you can use the honey in hot water to make a honey bee balm tea. You can spread it on toast, add it to your oatmeal. But if you're me, I'm not going to take the flowers out. I want these flowers to be part of my food because they are edible. So I'll keep the flowers and the leaves in there. And when I spread it on my toast, when I sprinkle it over my oatmeal, when I put it on my granola, or I drizzle it over my yogurt, I want those leaves and flowers there so I can just bask in their beauty, because I do believe that beauty is part of medicine and healing. So you can do that too. Here's a little bonus. This is yarrow, and you can make a yarrow honey for wounds. Yarrow is a wonderful herb for healing wounds, stopping bleeding, and stopping infection. You know what also is? Raw organic honey. So if you combine the two, you can create your own healing honey salve for wounds, cuts, scrapes, anything that happens in kids as they fall off their bikes, summer tripping on the dock, whatever it might be. Do the same thing. Take your jar and put in your yarrow flowers and leaves, cover it in honey, and then you have something that can be used topically. You can also use it internally for fevers. Pretty cool. So don't forget that these are not just condiments, but these are medicines. You can take them when you need a little relaxing Nervine hit. You can take them at the end of a hard day in a cup of tea. Use it to help with digestion, to help with nerve pain or nerve regeneration. So many good uses for this medicinal honey. That's it for today. I hope you found today's episode to be helpful and enjoyable. I love making medicines. It's really fun. We did this in our garden today, and I thought to myself, why not just take what we did today onto my YouTube channel and to share what we just did with you? So get out there. If you have a garden, if you can have any aromatic plants that you think would work well in honey, give it a try. Find your favorite mint family plant, make yourself an herbal infused honey, and enjoy it all summer and even all autumn and winter long, if it lasts. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please take a moment to click the subscribe and click the like button, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next episode.